Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the show. Today, I'm discussing the power of reinventing yourself after a major life change. Life is full of ups and downs, and sometimes we find ourselves in situations that force us to make difficult decisions and completely change the trajectory of our lives. But it's also important to remember that even in the midst of adversity, we have the power to reinvent ourselves and create a whole new path. Earlier this week, I wrote a blog post about a point in my life where it was back in the spring of 2017 when my life completely imploded. And I had to pick up all of the few pieces left in my life and figure out what I was going to do, how I was going to carry on. So, today we're exploring how to find the courage to reinvent yourself after some type of major life change, the importance of taking consistent action every day, and how I used my personal brand to help me transition into a new path in life. So, if you are going through a difficult time or you're just looking to make a change in your life, stick around. And I hope that this episode inspires you to start your own reinvention journey. So, let's talk about, life changes, pivoting, all of those things. They can be incredibly challenging. And as women, we are often expected to have it all together and to know exactly what we want out of life. But the truth is, life is so unpredictable. And sometimes we are forced to make major changes that we never saw coming. One of the biggest challenges of reinventing yourself after some type of big change in life is facing the unknown. And that's exactly how I felt in 2017. You may worry about what others will think or whether you are making the right decision. These fears and these uncertainties can be paralyzing, but it's also important to remember that they are completely normal. It's almost like we have to go through a grieving process. We have to go through all of these questions in our head and think about what it is we want and where we want to go. And going through a major life change, a major crisis, all of those questions come up. From, was it your fault? Could you have done something different? How could you have avoided that? What are you going to do now? What's life going to offer you now? How are you going to support yourself? All of those things come up. So, when you go through some type of major life change, whether it's a divorce or a job loss or something else, you may feel like a part of you has died. The future you had visioned for yourself may no longer be possible. And it can be difficult to let go of that vision. But it's important to remember that your old identity does not define you. You have the power to create a new identity for yourself and one that is even better than the one you had before. I spoke with Sarah, a woman who went through a major life change when she was laid off from her job of 20 years. And here's what she had to say about the challenges of reinventing herself. She said, I was so used to being defined by my job. And when I lost that job, I felt like I had lost a part of myself. I had to confront my fears and I had to figure out what I really wanted out of life. It was scary, but at the same time, it was also liberating. I realized that I had been holding myself back and that I had so much more to offer the world than simply my job title. Sarah's story is a great example of the challenges that come with reinventing yourself after some major life change. But as we will discuss in the next section, it's important to remember that these challenges can be overcome. So, change is a constant in life, but sometimes it hits us harder than we expect. When we experience those tough times, it's easy to feel like we're stuck in a rut, like there's no way out. But as Sarah shared earlier, there is always an opportunity waiting on the other side of adversity. So, how we do seize that opportunity, how we do transform ourselves and find new purpose, we figure that out. But see, the answer is different for everyone because there are some common threads that can help us guide us on that path ahead. First and foremost, it's important to be open to new opportunities, new experiences, new ideas. You never know where your next passion or inspiration may come from. And in my blog post, I talk about that, how me being forced to go and look for something else actually led me to what I do today. So as Sarah said, she had to put herself out there, and she learned from stories and from difficulties from other people, especially women. Secondly, don't be afraid to take risk and step outside of your comfort zone. It's natural to feel scared or uncertain, but sometimes it's those moments of discomfort that lead us to our greatest breakthroughs. And as Sarah put it, they forced her to confront her fears and step outside her comfort zone. And lastly, remember that reinventing yourself doesn't happen overnight. I wish it had. When everything happened to me in the spring of 2017, there were several months where I had to figure out where I was going to live, how I was going to get steady income. And I was living in Houston. I had no family, I had no support system there. And then the hurricane hit. We were flooded. If anybody remembers back when Houston was completely flooded. And so there's all of my emotions going on. I was just starting to kind of find my footing a little bit. And then the flooding happened from the hurricane. And in some ways, it helped because I realized my problems were not as bad as other people's problems. My house did not get flooded. I did have water up to the door, but it didn't get flooded. And sometimes being in those circumstances, you suddenly put what you're going through into perspective. So, for me, I don't think I can say it took me 5 months exactly, or it took me 3 months and 2 weeks. I don't think I can say that. I will say, looking back now, I can see the slowly progression. And as I'm going to talk about in a few minutes, it's taking those daily actions and just simply, I think there's a nursery rhyme, a song or something about, just put one foot in front of the other and soon you'll be walking out the door. And that's really true. Sometimes you just have to put yourself on that assembly line, so to speak, that treadmill, that hamster wheel, and just keep putting one foot in front of the other. Take those actions. See, every step that you take, you're getting closer to the new version of yourself that you've been seeking. You may not can see it far off, but it's there. So embrace the journey, be open to new experiences, take risk, and keep moving forward. You know, I talk about that a lot in my job search workshops, in my coaching sessions. I talk a lot about how you may not can see the end result, but you can see what's in front of you. And as long as you're putting action in every single day, you're going to get to that end result. You cannot focus on, oh my God, I got to get that job now, because all it's going to do is cause you anxiety. And you're going to be so focused on, I got to get the job, I got to get the job, that you are going to miss all of the steps in between. And the steps in between are what make you a success. The little steps in between are what get you the job, or what get you the new life, or get you the new identity, or help you find your passion. It's the little details that matter. So who knows where your path may lead you? As Sarah discovered, it can lead you to a whole new side of yourself that you never knew existed. And that's the same thing for me. I don't tell this story very often, but how I came to do what I do now, I'm a photographer. I started my, entrepreneurial journey in photography back in 2010, but it was 2017, and I went through a divorce. My mother had just died as well, and so my life was completely, uh, in pieces, with a lot of the pieces taken away. So I was working, it's like you're putting a bowl back together, after you break it, or a plate, and suddenly you're missing the pieces, and I was missing the pieces. So how do you put something back together when you don't have all the pieces? And what I did was I looked to see, what are other pieces I can bring in? What are other pieces of me, or my passions, my desires, that I can bring in to my plate of life? And one of those was teaching. I have a master's in education, and I really wanted to teach. And because my photography, I'd also been working with small businesses, and I'd also developed a great outlook on using social media, how to market your business, because I did that out of necessity. I had no money for marketing, paid marketing. And so I had started doing social media as well. I really believed in the platform of LinkedIn, and I'd been on it for a couple of years. And I saw a post on LinkedIn from somebody, I think we had mutual connections. And it was advertising a part time workshop facilitator position, teaching LinkedIn to mid level professionals. And I was like, I can do that. I wanted paid teaching experience. I was good at LinkedIn. I still am. And I looked at the lady who had actually posted the job notice, and I was like, "Wow, we have so much in common." 5 years later, 5 years later, thousands of people I have worked with. People with college degrees, with master's degrees, with PhDs, a lot of people with patents to their name, because it was Houston and oil and gas industry. So many people I have talked to, I have worked with, I have empowered to find their new path in life. And suddenly I found a part of myself that I did not exactly know existed. It lights me up when someone sends me a message and says, "Thank you so much. I found my dream job, and I never would have found it if you had not pushed me and encouraged me to step outside of my comfort zone." So I tell you, it's important to acknowledge the challenges that with life changes. It's important. Fear, lack of resources, and self doubt, they're common obstacles that people face when they are trying to reinvent themselves. It's natural to feel scared when taking a leap into the unknown, but it's also important to realize and remember that fear can be a powerful motivator. Instead of letting your fear hold you back, use it as a driving force to propel you towards your goals. Another challenge is the lack of resources, which I have talked about. However, it's essential to recognize that resources come in many forms and not just monetary. You can tap into all of your personal networks, all of your friends, all your acquaintances. You can do research to find free resources such as online courses and mentorship programs. And lastly, self doubt. It can be one of the most challenging obstacles to overcome. It is so easy to get bogged down by the negative self talk. I have done it. I have listened to people say it over and over again. But it's also important to remember that it's normal to feel unsure at times. Just don't let yourself stay there. One way to combat self doubt is to focus on your strengths, on your achievements. Yes, give yourself a little pat on the back every single week, every day if you need to. Remind yourself of your past successes and use that as motivation to move forward. Having a supportive network of friends, family, and mentors can make all the difference during this process. It's essential to have people in your life who believe in you and your goals and who can provide you that emotional support and guidance when needed. If you don't have a support system in place, start by reaching out to friends and family who you trust and respect. Join online communities or local groups related to your interests and your goals. That's also a great way to meet like-minded individuals. And don't forget about the value of mentorship. Finding someone who has successfully gone through a similar transition can provide invaluable insight and guidance. And that was one thing that I realized early on. When I started teaching those classes, I it was not my intention to go and share my most personal struggles with complete strangers. But somehow, in the course of some of those classes, some of those workshops, there would be moments where I had a story that I felt was beneficial. And I didn't share them in every single workshop, but there would be times when I felt that certain people or the whole class needed a little reminder. Because for them, me standing in front of them was their ability to look into the future. Me standing there after what I had gone through gave them hope. And then I realized I had a lot of, if you call them failures, pivots, changes in life, problems, roadblocks, fences. I had a lot of those stories that I could use to inspire people, to give them hope, because it's hard when you are trying to motivate somebody and you've never experienced the struggles that they are going through. As you embark on your journey to a new you, it's important to embrace your new identity and let go of your old self. This can actually be a difficult process, but it's essential to fully commit to your new direction and not hold on to the past. One way to stay motivated and focused during this process is to set specific goals and track your progress. Actually, that's good for anything that you do. Celebrate each milestone along the way and use them as the motivation to keep pushing forward. Remember that this whole process, it's not a straight line. Setbacks are a natural part of that process. So it can, after we go through some type of major life change, it can be challenging reinventing ourselves, but it's also a rewarding process. And by overcoming those challenges, such as fear, lack of resources, and self doubt, building that network, embracing the new you can achieve the life you desire. Remember that every step you take towards your goal, no matter how small, it brings you closer to what you want and your destiny. As Maya Angelou once said, we may encounter many defeats, but we will not be defeated. Keep pushing forward and trust in your ability to overcome any obstacles. You have the power to create a new path for yourself and live a fulfilling life. Take action today and start that journey of a new you. You never know what amazing opportunities lie ahead of you. That's it. Thank you. Bye. Have a great day.
Well, folks, that's it for today. I just want to say thank you so much for listening in today and for the desire to reach beyond what you think is possible. I would love to connect with each of you on Instagram. So if you would screenshot this podcast and then post it in your stories, and be sure to tag official Sandy Adams so I can give you inspiration right back. And if you're feeling all kinds of inspired today, then go ahead and go on over to iTunes and leave me a 5-star review. There's just no shame in my game, I tell you. I would love to know what most motivated you out of today's conversation. And so until next time, have a fantastic rest of the day.